to Windcraft's Insider Reviews. This is the long-awaited part 2 of the Hansa 458. So I know it's taken us a little while to get back to doing this bit, so apologies for that. But we finally got the boat back here just for a few days before she actually heads up north, up towards Queensland. This boat's going to go and compete in the Port Stephens Regatta, and then the owner's taking it up to go cruising up around the Whitsunday Islands, so we can all be very jealous of that. I'll work through the boat in a similar format to the way I did the outside, try and touch on most of the main points, but to start with, we'll get stuck into the bit that most skippers and sailors are interested in down here, which is the nav table. Quite pleasing to see on the 458 is that they do actually have a real proper size nav table down here. Increasingly this is being done away with on a lot of the boats, but it is really nice to see that you do get a decent storage area, a dedicated place for all of your controls, as well as somewhere to keep all those little bits and bobs for your nav, your laptop, your chapstick, whatever it is that you have and you need to keep aboard. Everyone knows the quickest place to find anything you need is always in the nav table. The first thing you'll probably notice is this nifty little chair that they have here. So I can actually vouch for this. Although it might not look all that practical, it actually works really, really well. So no matter what angle of heel you're at, or even if you're sitting just flat in the marina like this, it's actually a surprisingly comfortable chair to sit at. You've got plenty of space, and it's a good size space for reading a magazine or for doing your nav work, particularly if you're using a laptop to do your weather forecasting, that sort of stuff. So it actually does work really well. And then this chair simply just folds up and tucks out of the way when you're not using it. As you can probably see, most of your main controls for the boat are all closely grouped in here. So down here you've got bilge pump alarms, you've got inverter charger controls, AC power controls, your stereo obviously essential, and up here generator controls, battery monitors, and then your main 12 volt DC panel. So this is the panel that you're going to be using and going to most frequently when you're on the boat. So this controls everything from your interior lights to your nav lights, your fridges, water pumps, nav equipment, winches, that sort of stuff. And cleverly, Hansa have actually included a whole auxiliary range down here. So all of these switches are essentially blank when you first receive the boat, and you can add various options. So you've got a central point to turn extra things on. So you might put extra things in there, additional chargers perhaps, audio visual equipment, exterior electronics, anything like that can all be controlled there, so that works well. You'll be wondering where the VHF radio is. It's actually just tucked away up in here, along with other bits you might want to add. So in this case there's a Iridium Go, a satellite communication system. So nice, organised, nice and tidy, all close and easy to reach. Further down here, you actually have your AC control panel. So all the 240 volt elements of the boat. So you may be either plugged into shore power, or you may have a generator aboard, or even an inverter. If you've got an inverter fitted on the boat, all your 240 volt stuff is controlled here, and you have your breakers over on this side, and your various switches. So it's accessible. It's not too in your face, but it is nice and easy to reach. If I fold this chair down a little bit behind the scenes here, you fold this panel down here, you've actually got your main fuse board panel for the entire boat. So your distribution board for pretty much all of the electrics on the boat all run back here, and you can actually see how nice and clearly everything's labelled. It's very German in how organised it is. The fuses are really nice and easy to reach, and everything's in English, so you can actually understand it. So it's just a good example, just by looking at that one place, of how comprehensively and diligently the boats are built behind the scenes. The galley on the 458 is nicely proportioned. It's well laid out. It's not the biggest galley in the world, but the fact that it's an L shape like this actually means that, again, when you're at sea, you can brace yourself really quite comfortably and safely in here. You've got your stove here, a 2-burner stove, or 3-burner stove in fact, as standard on the Hansa. That's obviously gimbaled. One trick with this is to remember that it's not all that difficult to drop a few scraps behind the stove. So do just remember, when you come to cleaning, you can reach underneath here nice and easily to get and clean that up. You've got a huge fridge on the boat, which is both top and bottom loading. So you can get your fruit and your nice, easy to access, regularly required items in the top here. And then down below, anything heavier, your beers generally and other bits and bobs, you can squeeze away down there. So it's a surprisingly spacious fridge, and the dual access that's been designed for it does work very well. There are options for extra refrigeration as well. This boat doesn't have it, I can see now, but you can get a drawer fridge in here as well, which is a handy one. So often people will separate food and drinks out, so that works really well. You've got lots and lots of storage. You've got a twin sink here, and these clever little lift outs do just give you extra working area for when you need it. Obviously a mixer tap, hot and cold running water, as you'd expect. And yeah, just generous storage. Now, this guy, we have a microwave installed on here. Now, it's a 240 volt microwave, so you'll need to either run your inverter or be plugged into short power, or have a generator running to work it. It's a great thing to have at anchor or in the marina. Obviously, microwaves are incredibly useful, but do bear in mind that it's not gimbaled, so it's not particularly useful when you're out underway, because anything you put in will spill. If you pop around this side, there's more storage down here, including two little bins. They're actually not tiny. There's a decent bit of space for those. Obviously you can be environmentally responsible and separate your recycling and your non-recycling in there. More storage in here as well as tucked away up here. So you'd be surprised just how much you can make disappear into this space. But all in all, it's a very practical and very easy to use kitchen space. So we've been cooking at sea in this same 458 for quite a while, and there's really quite a safe way to handle it, particularly if it's only one person in here. Plenty of handholds about the place. You can brace yourself nice and easily in here as well. So yeah, it's a good layout. So the 458 is obviously it's a big volume boat. You'll be able to see by the amount of room and space that there is in here, and that means you get this really generous and really sumptuous living and social area in here. Now you can easily have 8 to 12 people comfortably seated down here. We had a party once after the Ark on our 458 a year or two ago now. I think we counted 24 people down in this saloon. The place was an absolute mess afterwards, but it does show just how much room you do have down here. There's a couple of table options you can get, and they sort of relate to the amount of space and sleeping room that you need aboard the boat. So on this particular boat, this is a lowering table, so it doesn't fold like the standard option table does, but it does lower right down. And what that means then, with this table lowered down, you can actually put an infill piece in and turn this into a big daybed area essentially, or an extra couple of bunks for people to sleep on at night. If you've got young kids, for example, it's a great, really safe space. You can lower this down, put the cushions out on it, stick on a movie, and just let them bounce around and enjoy it down here. It's a good place to be. Or if the weather's shocking and you feel like just a good bingey movie night, again, turn this into a big bed area, rack on a good movie, and it's a very nice place to be. One other feature that they've cleverly done is have this extra little futon here. So although this is fixed to the floor, it does actually slide in and out, backwards and forwards. So if you're not planning on entertaining, you can have it slid right the way under the table. Keeps it nice and clear down here, makes movement on the boat really nice and simple. But again, if you're going to have a big dinner and lots of guests, you pull it out, and you've got plenty of space. Like I say, for probably 10 people, you can fit comfortably around that table and more at a squeeze. Just a nice versatile layout. Now, one thing that this option, which is the lowering table option, does lack, which is a bit disappointing really, is that there's no wine storage underneath the table, which is pretty essential. However, Heinz have thought of that, and there is, tucked away under here, far away from prying eyes and the guests who don't want to see it, an extra secret little wine stash, so your own private cellar. So you're definitely not short of creature comforts on a 458. So if you follow me through into the master cabin here, I'll show you the main suite. So as always, and you won't be surprised to hear me say that the light and air that you get throughout the Hansas is always amongst the best in class. The 458 particularly has these two huge windows here, both of which actually open, so you've got lots and lots of light and space. When you are hanging at anchor, for example, you might be in quite a still marina, it might be a hot day. The breeze gets funneled really nicely down through those forward-facing hatches, but do remember to close them when you go to sea, because otherwise the full bunk will be getting wet. We've all made that mistake more than once. Loads and loads of storage in here, plenty of hanging room for all your goodies, great shelves for books, all the bits and bobs you might need, a couple of extra storage spaces up the front, and just a really decent sized bed. You've got storage underneath, so the bed actually lifts up as well, so you've got more space under there. But the true impressive part of this is the separate shower and toilet area, so come on in and we'll show you those. So one of the unique features on the 458, which you don't get until you get to this 45-foot range, is having separate heads and shower units in the V-berth here. So it's really nice to be able to have one room that's essentially dry, so where you need to use the toilet essentially, brush your teeth, do your hair, do whatever, you've got that entirely on one side, and that can stay nice and dry. And on the other side you've got a separate shower, and it also means that if you're a couple, for example, you can use them at the same time, but you still got a third bathroom space at the back of the boat for guests to use. So it's very, very versatile. Everyone gets their own personal space, and you never feel like you're actually encroaching on other people's privacy. So the 458 is a 3-cabin boat. That's the only format that it comes in. So you will always have 2 big aft cabins, and then your enormous giant master suite at the front. Now the port side aft cabin is ever so slightly bigger than the starboard aft cabin, and that's only because the door on the port side, as you'll see, comes thus far, whereas on this side it's pushed back slightly to give you a bit more room in the galley. So if you get the choice of a port side or starboard side guest cabin, go port side, just because it's that little bit bigger. The bunks themselves are surprisingly large, and actually the way they're positioned makes it a really comfortable living space. I spent 9 months living in one of these cabins, and was very, very happy and very comfortable. The fact that the sides of the cabin are essentially the hull of the boat makes it actually quite a nice, comfortable space to lay in, and you'll actually see you've got further headroom that extends out as you go outboard of the boat, so you can really quite happily sit at a nice angle and read your book if you want to be athwartships. But if you're lying full lengthways, these beds are about 6'2", 6'3" long, so there's loads and loads of room. You get all the storage you might expect as well. There's storage underneath. The port side actually has more storage than the starboard side. This is where your fuel tank is, on this side here. But you get little lockers either side, port and starboard, as well as a decent amount of hanging room in here as well. You also get plenty of ventilation, so you get one little hatch here, which is useful for shouting at the skipper, asking him why you keep jibing all the time. And the other little hatch up here just gets a real nice flow of air through. But if you count them up, there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 portholes in this cabin. So 5's a lot for a space, so you do get a lot of natural light in here. And these little hatches in the ceiling, which are actually part of one of the packs or an optional upgrade, absolutely worth getting. They really make a difference. So yeah, very comfortable guest accommodation on the 458. So moving on to some of the more technical sides of it, the nitty-gritty. People always want to know engine rooms, accessibility, servicing, all that sort of stuff. So you won't be surprised to see that the Germans have done a great job of making this nice and accessible. This is a Yanmar 4JH80 engine that they have here. It's a really powerful engine for the boat actually. It's a turbo-driven engine and reasonably fuel efficient as well. It's actually the same block as the smaller 57 engine, but this one has the turbo bolted on. So it's your call as to whether you think you need that extra juice. The base engine is actually perfectly adequate for the boat, but if you do want, you know, that extra little bit of power, then you do have the option to upgrade to this one. Access for doing your dailies, really nice and easy. Fluid levels, water filters, fans, belts, everything can be accessed really nicely and easily from here. But that's not all. They've actually gone a step further and made it very accessible. Just the hatch here open. You can actually access through here as well. And there's the same hatch on the other side as well. So you can get right the way around the engine, so you can get to all your dipsticks, you can check for any leaks, you can look at the belts, you can make sure that there's nothing unusual, everything's taut, everything's operating exactly how it should be. So when it comes to making sure that your engine's in good shape and that you're safe to go on your voyage, or you're just doing your general maintenance, they do make it very easy, which is a blessing compared to what some boats have been like in the past. So without spending too much time going through it, the guest bathroom on this boat is really quite impressive. It's got a separate shower area to the heads area, which does mean that you don't get the entire room soaking wet when someone's in there having a shower. They've got a lovely, very smart looking real stone splashback at the back of the sink. Electric toilets an option. The mood lighting comes with the boat. You've actually got really good access as well to your seacocks, which can be accessed just under the sink there. So I'll just squeeze in. So again, Hansa's renowned for being easy to access, easy to maintain and look after, very easy to get at your various seacocks. Those are the sorts of things you want to make sure you open and close on a regular basis, make sure they're not getting seized up. And also, if you know the worst were to happen and you were to find some water in the boat, everything's very easy to get to, so you can instantly spot any problems. Again, just more evidence of thoughtful layout and engineering. So there you have it, a brief and long overdue run through of the interior of the 458. Really, really comfortable space, loads of ventilation, lots of light, classy, and just a logically well thought out, sensible but comfortable interior. They've done a great job. So that's it for the 458. If you've got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, stand by and we'll get some more videos from some more of our range to you soon. Thanks.